Hi there, this is Rob Sager, and otherwise known as Boar Regus. And I thought maybe on the first video it might be fun to do first part of it kind of like a fireside chat. Just give you a chance to get to know me a little bit and kind of talk a little bit about the things that we've learned here. This is about the time of day that I work, or should I say night. It's about 1:30 now in the morning, and this is a time that allows me to keep my train of thought without the children running around. I've been living on about 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night because I found that works. I'm able to get my work done. I'm able to keep moving, and yet can put the time in and effort in that I need for the masters. Wanted to let you know that I actually kissed each of my members of my family before I went upstairs to play Dungeons and Dragons earlier today, and I remember I did play Dungeons and Dragons once with a friend back in high school, but I was by myself. He was the dungeon master, and wasn't a lot of interaction. Didn't really enjoy it all that much. But I think part of the reason why I had fun this time around was we had other people to spend it with, and of course, Borregas being the complete opposite of my personality was kind of fun to break out of who I actually am. And that was good advice, by the way. Thank you for that one. I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't read that in your paperwork. I also thought, really how much fun you have in this game could be controlled a lot by the dungeon master, and I felt like ours did a really nice job with that. It was fun. I enjoyed interacting with Jarbs, the rest of our crew, and solving all sorts of problems and kind of kicking back and listening to different ideas and seeing what might be the best. And the technical difficulties that we had, I don't know if they shared with you, are his internet connection went down, and so our dungeon master went away. And so Jason looked him up on Facebook, got a cell phone. I called him, put him on speakerphone, did that for a little while, and then somebody suggested using the telephone number, so we gave that to him over the telephone along with my access code, and so he got in under my name and proceeded to work off of the telephone until his internet came back up. So a way around it, but it worked just fine for us. And of course, Drunky the Dwarf. I mean, who could forget Drunky the Dwarf? It was just an outstanding character. We really enjoyed him. That was a lot of fun. It was interesting that you managed to connect up with Allison as the one that you were enamored with there. We certainly enjoyed the fact that our particular team won. I wonder, did everybody win on this, or was that just we happened to get lucky and win on this one? I don't know if that's the case. Under motivational theory, I certainly found the D&D addressed the first two of the things that he spoke about. The active critical learning principle, I thought, really we're talking about when you're figuring out what spells you can throw and some of those types of things, how far you have to go to attack somebody, taking a turn just to get closer to them. And the relationship between action and consequences. When I bit the finger off of the one guy and he screamed really loud and all the bad guys came running from up in the cave, it kind of reminded you that you gotta think a little before you actually do something. But like I said, that was my alter ego, so it was appropriate for him to do that. The design principle was the other thing that struck me, because within the storyline, you had the acoustics where you had to keep quiet so the bad guys didn't hear you. The mayor, not being who he said he was, and deception and all of that was all part of design. But even in the game as a whole, when two characters go up against each other, rolling the dice, and that number deciding who has an effect or not an effect, and I still haven't quite figured out how you choose between a 6-sided die and an 8-sided die to determine how much damage was done. I noticed the difference, or a 20 side versus a 100 side to decide whether you're able to actually have an effect on them. Those are the kind of things that I might enjoy getting into on the Dungeon Master side and understanding the statistics and how they make those choices. When I was single and newly married, I played a lot of Wolfenstein and Doom and some other standalone PC games, never in with internet type things. But I found that, kind of revisiting this now with this class, that I'm a lot more practical, probably out of necessity, and I knew that I needed to do that, and we accomplished what we should have, and had a good time, and it was part of my coursework, but I'm not sure I would go back and do it again on my own just for the fun of it, because I don't go out and play 9 holes of golf on a Saturday morning just for the fun of it, or go out drinking with the boys on Friday night. And we don't even have cable TV. We watch maybe 4 TV shows a week that we usually record and then skip the commercials just so that we don't have to wait through those things either. And we've never had a gaming console. I know that's a shock. That's like amazing for some people to think. But we are looking at the Wii. I'm trying to figure out how I can use my incentive savings, pre-tax health care stuff to be able to buy it. Don't know if they'll let me do that. But of course, the physical activity, the Wii Fit, and everything. We have some friends that have them, and we had a chance to go over and play it. And the kids had a great time. And what was fun was we actually got to interact, and there was a lot of interaction within the family going on at that time. And that's something that strikes me. Speaking of my kids, we have Rebecca at 2 that we just adopted in December. Lillian, who is 5, just turned 5 about a week ago, and she's from South Korea, is where we adopted her from. And Grant, who is 7, is born to us through in vitro fertilization. So none of our children were here by accident. We worked very hard to get each one of them as a part of our lives, and so that probably has something to say with why I value that time with them so much, and why I'm willing to stay up till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning doing my assignments, because I don't want to miss out on that. They're at an age where my influence as a father and their mother, we have a lot to say, and they're willing to listen right now, and we're able to work with them and help develop them as people, and that's important. And it's an important part of our lives, and it's a time that I can't just set aside. And so that's why we're making this happen. And we do play a lot of games with them, but I was struck by the fact that a lot of them are educational games, not really fun games. Candyland and Battleship and stuff like that. Colors and symbols in Candyland, graphing and Battleship, Junior Scrabble, spelling, gestures, which would be movement and physically, controlling your body, win, lose, or draw, which would be art. They have leap pads, which has a lot of educational things, and my son actually is enjoying now exploring some of the science areas with me on Second Life. That's been kind of fun. And at first I thought, okay, I'm a typical geek dad, educational geek dad, making my kids do that, until I realized that, if I'm reading what Guy said, he's saying that all games have educational value to them. Whether what we're teaching is a good thing or not is a social type of judgment call, and something that we have to decide, but they all teach us something. And I was even struck by the thought that really that just goes one step further, and that is that all of life is something where we learn. I mean, even if we're asleep dreaming, I've woken up with ideas that I know kind of bubbled to the surface while I was dreaming, and I woke up with that dream going, no, that would be cool. So even when we dream, we are learning, and our mind is working and developing. And so with games, the key is to pick the game and then find the educational value in it. And that struck me that that's kind of like reading a film, like we learned in the last class, how we sit down and watch it, not just for the surface, but start delving into the design and all of that and reading it. And so I think one of the things I'm looking forward to in this class is learning how to read a game and see how that game, what it teaches, and then are there possibilities in taking those ideas and teaching them in a classroom with the use of that game. So those are some of my thoughts. I hope I didn't run too long. The second half of this will be more of a video type thing where I'll kind of introduce you to my ideas that I have for taking some of the role-playing game and actually using it in my music class. So I hope you enjoy that and have appreciated your class so far. Certainly last Tuesday's Wimba was one of the most interesting and enjoyable that I've had since I've started at Full Sail there. I came down and started talking about it, and my wife thought I was probably on about 10 cups of coffee at that point, because I was just fired up and having a great time. So thank you for making it fun. I look forward to talking to you more.